I recently visited Japan for the first time with a friend, and we spent a total of 12 nights in 4 cities. In a series of videos, I'll talk about where we stayed, what we ate, and what we did during our time in Japan. And to capture my experience, I used a Sony Alpha 6000 with an f4 16-35mm lens, a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and my Samsung Galaxy S23 Plus when it was just easier to take a picture or a video using my phone. During our time in Japan, we spent 5 nights in Tokyo, 4 during the initial visit, and also our last night there as well. Next, we decided to check out Kanazawa on the west coast, and after our time there, we took a bullet train and also a limited express train to Osaka for a couple nights. We spent the last part of our trip in picturesque Kyoto, and we also did a couple of day trips. The first was in Kamakura from Tokyo, and the second day trip was from Kyoto to Nara to see the deer. After spending around 14 hours on our direct flight from George Bush International Airport in Houston to Narita, we took an express train from the airport to Ueno Station and ultimately got to our destination to the Toranomon Hills area. We stayed at the Hotel Toranomon Hills from Hyatt using points for the first 3 nights in Tokyo. It was a modern and comfortable hotel with a nice bar and restaurant, and I ate breakfast there one morning. The room had an impressive view of the surrounding skyline, and I got to experience my first Japanese high-tech toilet where the lid automatically opened once it detected you, which I thought was pretty cool. I got to visit my first Japanese 7-Eleven near the hotel to see what all the hype was about and take a look at the variety of snack and meal options offered. And if you're not familiar with Japan, there's also Lawson's and Family Mart, which are competing convenience stores that offer similar products. I started the first full day off with coffee and a breakfast sandwich from a local coffee shop. And if you do plan to visit Japan, just note that local coffee shops may not open until 8 or 9 a.m. So we spent the first morning walking around the Toranomon Hills area and came across our first shrine. And this was the start of a lot of walking. Over the first full 3 days, we averaged over 9 miles a day, and that was with us using the subway. We eventually made it to Tokyo Tower, which was the tallest tower in Japan until 2012. It has 2 observation decks, and you can visit with the purchase of a ticket. Near the tower is a small park and also the Zojoji Buddhist temple, which we noticed on Google Maps after we left the area, but looked like a really cool area to explore. Next up is the Tsukiji Fish Market, which was about 20 minutes from our hotel on the Hibiya subway line. Here we explored the market and tried some skewers at one of the many food stalls. And one thing to note is you don't walk and eat in Japan. And we usually found a spot next to the food stalls to eat, and they generally had an area to put your trash once finished. And if they didn't, you'll need to hold onto your trash since trash cans are a rare sight in Japan. We walked around the market for a bit to see what all it had to offer, and we also found a small area with vending machines which seem to be everywhere in Japan, including places you probably wouldn't expect to see a vending machine. So when it came to the food at the market, I had choice paralysis trying to figure out what to eat since there were so many appealing options. There are vendors selling seafood or different rolled skewers plus other options. I didn't check all the vendors, but make sure you bring cash when coming to Japan, especially since only some places accept cash and not credit card. We eventually tried some skewers at one of the stands, and I can't remember exactly what we had, but I do remember trying one of the pork skewers wrapped in cheese. And if you do take a trip to Japan, just be open to trying new foods, and if it looks good, give it a shot. In addition to some of the grilled skewers, we also tried tamagayaki, which is basically a Japanese layered egg omelet. We explored the market a little longer, and after we left, we ate some takoyaki at a local small place across from Tsukiji that only served that. After finishing the takoyaki, we grabbed some coffee to wake us up since we hadn't adjusted to the 15-hour time difference between Houston and Tokyo. After coffee, we explored the Yanaka district, which took us about 40 minutes to get to from the Tsukiji market area. And the Yanaka district is just a shopping street that's been around a very long time with over 60 stores and restaurants. One thing to keep in mind, especially in Tokyo, is the amount of time it could take to get from one spot to another. Make sure you use Google Maps. It does a great job of letting you know what trains to take and most importantly what platform to get on to take the train at the subway. Additionally, if you don't want to deal with your cell phone provider's international plan, there are multiple eSIM options so you can have a data plan on your phone to utilize Google Maps and whatever else you need. We finished our first full day with an 11-course meal at a sushi restaurant near our hotel. We had 16 items total. My favorites were the fatty tuna and what appeared to be a deconstructed jalapeno popper. And the price was very reasonable at about $65 US per person that also included a drink. We spent the majority of our second full day at Kamakura, which I'll share in a different video. But after visiting Kamakura, we finally saw Tokyo lit up at night in the Shinjuku area. And while I've seen pictures and videos, it was truly a spectacular experience to see it in person, and the videos and pictures really don't do it justice. I saw my first pachinko gaming hall, and also the store where people were lined up to exchange their pachinko balls for money. We didn't have anything in particular planned for the Shinjuku area, we just explored what was around. And I think that's something people may not consider when visiting Japan, so make sure you give yourself time just to go out and explore whatever's around. You may find some hidden gems, or if you're into photography, you may be able to get some great shots that aren't just from the touristy areas. Overall, we didn't stay out too late since we were both tired from our day trip to Kamakura and still trying to adjust the 15-hour time difference. But we did decide to check out the tourist spot, Amore Yochoko area, which was a small alleyway consisting of food stalls with grilled skewers and other options. It's definitely a tourist trap, but it was still a cool sight to see, and if you're in the area, make sure you check it out. We didn't eat anything from the alley, we just walked through to see what it was all about while taking some pictures and videos. It wasn't that large of an alleyway, but it wasn't too small either, and it took about 2 minutes to walk from end to end. So after a long day, we were ready for dinner, so I randomly picked out the Ringer Hut out of the many options we saw since they had some interesting hot dog type desserts. I ended up with some type of noodle dish that was pretty decent and tried the strawberry and whipped cream coffee, which I would probably give a 6 out of 10. So that's what it was like during our first 3 nights and 2 full days in Tokyo, and I'll share our day trip to Kamakura, which we did during our second full day, in another video. I hope you enjoyed this video, so please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and also please like and subscribe.